Sonic Mania is a love letter to everything Sonic was in the 90s. He was cool, and he played nothing like the typical 2D platformers of the time. Instead of slow, methodical, well-thought-out platforming, it was fast-paced and had loop-de-loops. It rewarded skilled players. Even some of the just most low-level skilled players in the original Sonic the Hedgehog games, even they could beat most of these levels in like under a minute. Like seriously, it is so fucking easy to beat a game like Green Hill or just the entirety of Sonic 2 while just holding right and tapping the A button. The game rewards skill, and because of that skill, you play fast, which led to Sonic's trademark speed that we all know and loathe today. After the move to 3D, Sonic never really left his 2D roots, despite what many others would lead you to believe. With the Sonic Advance Trilogy, the Sonic Rush Duology, the Sonic Rivals Duology, both Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2, and most of the 3DS Sonic games released in the 2010s all stuck to Sonic's 2D roots. They were more of a modernized, complete reimagining than a downright sequel or continuation of the original Genesis games. And who could forget the multiple re-releases of the games via the Sonic Collection series. And then of course there's everyone's favorite, how most 3D Sonic games now focus more on being 2.5D platformers with occasional 3D hallways. But Sonic Mania was truly the first Sonic game to take us all the way back to everything that we loved about the original trilogy. The level design, the platforming. You only got good times in these levels. You only played and felt fast because you were genuinely skillful at the game. Yes, there is plenty of spectacle for you to feel like you're going fast, but you only actually went fast when you had skill, like it was back in the Genesis trilogy. With most other 2D revivals of Sonic, it focused too much on spectacle and just holding right, completely negating the whole skill part of what made 2D classic Sonic so good. And Mania is a full return to that, with the physics and momentum-based gameplay that we loathe and wish would make a true return in 3D. But not only is it back in Sonic Mania, it is better than it has ever been in any Sonic game, classic or otherwise. The game, the controls, the movement, everything, just the animations, it all feels so buttery smooth. It has a certain flow to it that's kind of hard to explain, but you feel it. You feel it in your soul. You feel the love, the passion, the burning desire to make Sonic as great as he can be. You feel that with every single second of gameplay within Sonic Mania. The levels themselves, they have never been more alive. A mixture of the almost Genesis orchestral score provided by T. Lopes, the amazing sprite and animation work, and just the environments themselves. They're so alive, the colors pop, they just melt in your eyes. Little background animations like water flowing and clouds just moving and petals from Japanese pink bonsai trees flowing in the background when it snows, or just the entirety of Hydro City Zone. This game is such a gorgeous eye candy. And almost all of the zones are remixed, which makes the difference between the original Genesis games and Sonic Mania so much better. You can directly compare how Green Hill Zone before was just kind of, there. It's green, it's brown, and it's on the Sega Genesis. But Sonic Mania Green Hill Zone? Oh, good lord, this must be heaven. I have no idea what else heaven could be, but it is most certainly this. But Green Hill isn't the only returning level. We also have Chemical Plant, Flying Battery, the aforementioned Hydro City Zone, Stardust Speedway, both its past and present variants, Metallic Madness, Lava Reef, and Oil Ocean, and I might be forgetting one or two, but we also have 4 brand new zones, those being Press Garden, Studiopolis, Titanic Monarch, and Mirage Saloon Zone. All in all, a really good selection of level themes, and not a single level in this game is bad. Seriously, they're all solid. Although I do question the choice to bring back Oil Ocean Zone compared to any other zone from Sonic 1, 2, CD, or 3 and Knuckles. Like, seriously, like, you couldn't even bring back a Game Gear level? Really? Oil fucking Ocean. Why? At least every single level design is fun and feels inspired in some way. Act 1 is our typical Sonic affair, although since most of the game's zones are reused assets from the previous Genesis games, Act 1 is always kind of a remix of the original level design. You can especially tell this with Green Hill Zone because Act 1 is literally just Acts 1 and 2 mashed together into one. You can also tell with Chemical Plant, because, I mean, come on, those are like the most iconic Sonic zones. Everyone played those like a bajillion times as kids. You can recognize when it goes from Act 1 to Act 2, it's incredibly obvious. Act 2 of every zone is much more original and usually a bit of a gimmick level. For Green Hill, it's pulleys and water. For Chemical Plant, it's chemicals and bouncy chemicals and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. The only Act 2 that kind of feels like a reuse is Green Hill Zone Act 2, because it's really just an extended version of Green Hill Zone Act 3. I don't know, I kind of like it, and it just makes me wish that more Sonic 1 zones got the Mania treatment as opposed to Oil fucking Ocean! Boss fights, they're back, they're fun, they're awesome, and I don't like half of them, because instead of bosses just being at the end of Act 2s, we take the Sonic 3 system and have a boss after every single fucking level. I don't like that. I just want to slap a design and end the level. I don't want to fight a boss every time. I don't like that from Sonic 3, and I don't like it here. This time around, Chaos Emeralds are obtained Sonic 3 flavor, now with just an extra hint of LSD tripping balls. Essentially, take the special stage system from Sonic 3, finding a big ring and entering it, take the wacky colors of CD in Sonic 2, and then take the 3D polygonal models of the Sega Saturn games and whatever else from random Sonic special stages like Sonic and Knuckles, like being under a strict time limit, having to collect rings to extend that time limit, and bada bing, bada boom, throw in some aliens for some reason, you got a Sonic Mania special stage. And all of them are incredibly easy. Special Stage 7 is the easiest out of all of them. Thankfully, there is an extra set of 7 special stages that is locked behind the game's DLC, Sonic Mania Plus, via the Encore mode. These are much more sadistic. These are much more difficult. I like that we have a difficult option for the Encore mode, essentially just being an extra remixed version of the game with a slight difficulty tweak. And then the fucking special stages happen, and instead of a difficulty tweak, it's a difficulty crank on the slider. But even then, the remix special stages aren't all that difficult, mostly because Sonic special stages come down to less of a test of skill and just more of a test of memory. Since I've played the base game special stages for so long and so often, I'm incredibly good at them, so my muscle memory is always active, compared to the Encore mode, where I don't like them as much because I'm actually challenged. Thus, I haven't built up any muscle memory. Does that contradict my point of them usually being easy and thus, not all that special because they rely on muscle memory? Yes, because I just admitted that I don't have muscle memory for the remixed ones because I find them difficult. You may call me a hypocrite in the comments. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all play like their old selves. Knuckles glides and climbs, Tails flies, and Sonic has a new ability, the Drop Dash. This allows you to essentially jump in the air, charge a spin dash, and when you hit the ground, you take off with a single charge spin dash. It is actually a really fun and interesting ability. It's mostly just useful for like time trials, and if you're a skilled enough player, you can dodge obstacles while keeping up your momentum using the drop dash. It's great for platforming while moving fast, but sadly no part of the game actually takes advantage of it, because the level design is generally designed around all three characters being able to use it, and at no point did they ever think to give Sonic his own unique section at taking advantage of the drop dash, because Sonic is essentially the normal, everybody, including the 7-year-old, plays a Sonic mode. Knuckles isn't really a hard mode, as, if anything, I feel like Knuckles is easier because you can climb and glide and skip a lot of platforming obstacles. You'd think Tails would be the easy mode. No, it's Knuckles! Even with his unique level design, they still don't take advantage of his abilities, which is a little sad to me. The Super Peel Out and Insta Shield do return from their respective games, but only as unlockable abilities. Unless you use a cheat code which allows you to use all three of Sonic's abilities at one time, but unless you know how to activate the cheat code, let alone make it to the cheat code menu, the best you're gonna get is having to pick one or the other for your entire playthrough. Mighty and Ray were added 1 year later with the Sonic Mania Plus DLC, and they're pretty fun. They're pretty alright. Mighty has a slight immunity to some projectiles and spikes. Ray can glide kinda like in Super Mario World, and that's about it. I mean, Mighty does have a ground pound, but just like Sonic's Drop Dash, it's really never given any use in any of the game's levels. I mean, there's a couple places in Encore mode where you can use it, but there's nothing really to say here. Now, with all of this good, you're thinking, okay, well, it's a Sega game. Sega made it. Surely there's some glaring issue that's just waiting to show its ugly head, right? Well, you'd be wrong. Sega had almost nothing to do with this game. This is essentially an official Sonic fan game. It was developed by Christian Whitehead, not only a well-known Sonic fan game developer, but also the guy who brought us the mobile ports and remakes of Sonic 1, 2, and CD, which were then later ported to consoles via Sonic Origins for Sonic 1 and 2, and the PS3 and Xbox 360 with Sonic CD. And on top of that, the game is really solid. I mean, of course, it's a video game, so obviously there are some bugs and glitches that you can either take advantage of, or get absolutely screwed over by. Although in an average playthrough, you're never going to encounter anything like this. At all. All of the bugs and glitches within the game are either patched out, or you have to go way the fuck out of your way to even find them. So, why is it in the thumbnail of this video I say Sonic Mania is a good game that doesn't deserve to be forgotten? Or, well, that's because there's nothing special about Sonic Mania. It's a love letter to everything that Sonic is, yes, but it really only focuses on the classic Sonic games. Okay, that's fine. You can have a love letter that focuses only on one part of the franchise. I mean, so? Sonic Forces came out the same year, and that game could be a complete love letter to everything modern, and... Okay, so of the two 2017 Sonic games, this is the one that's really only good. Forces is just a mediocre piece of shit. Okay, so... why is it Sonic Forces, of all things, is a more relevant Sonic game, even though Sonic Mania is right there? How come Sonic Mania means nothing in the modern day series? How come Sonic Mania is this forgotten game that almost no one talks about anymore? How come it doesn't come up in more conversation? How come Mania is forgotten? That's because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do a single thing to stand out. All of the game's levels are just reused assets. Hell, fucking, I already forget the name of it, because I had to look it up while recording this part of the footage. Fucking, Mirage Saloon Zone. That in of itself is just a reuse of a scrapped idea for the Sonic CD mobile port. Christian Whitehead wanted to add in a new zone to kind of fill in that gap of where level R2 was scrapped during Sonic CD's development. Okay, well, he couldn't put Desert Dazzle into Sonic CD, but you sure as can reuse those assets for a new level. Well, what about fucking Studiopolis, or Press Garden, or Titanic Monarch? Well, yeah, they're really cool zones, but aside from a quick reference in Team Sonic Amazing, and a scrapped Archie Sonic comic, Sonic Mania brings nothing to the franchise that we haven't already seen. Oh, but it brought back Mighty and Ray! Yeah, but they're legacy Sonic characters. They were bound to be brought back eventually. They were referenced in Sonic Generations. They were there in Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. Mighty was in Knuckles Chaotix, but what about the fact that they were brought back in the comics? Only the classic Sonic comics, and even then, their appearances there are sparse at best. Okay, but what about Mania Adventures? A tie-in YouTube video series that has no bearing on the franchise. Essentially, Sega's treating of classic Sonic as its own separate thing really hurts any creativity from any classic Sonic project. Yes, in things like Tails Tube, we get references to Mighty Ray and Trip the Sungazer, but classic Sonic doesn't matter to Sega. They don't care about classic Sonic. To them, classic Sonic is just a way to slap on a big marketing label and sell extra copies to nostalgic fans. That doesn't mean jack shit. Furthermore, I want to look at a game like Sonic the Hedgehog 4, because Sonic Mania is often considered the true Sonic 4, purely because fans don't want to admit that there actually is a Sonic the Hedgehog 4 and that it's actually good. I'd like to point out, Sonic 4 is memorable because it's mediocre, because it's bland and boring, maybe, but at the same time, you remember Sonic 4 because it tried something different. It tried to see what would a new 2D Sonic game look like with the current Sonic formula. It didn't make up its own formula, it didn't remix the old formula. No, it rebuilt the classic Sonic formula, but added the homing attack, Sonic's most defining modern ability next to the Lightspeed Dash. And well, Sonic 4 is memorable. People care that you can no longer get Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2 on the App Store because Sega Forever is shutting down. People care that as the Xbox 360 and PS3 online marketplaces slowly shut down over the years, you can't play games like Sonic 4 anymore. Sonic Mania? What did Sonic Mania do to give itself an identity within the franchise? Sonic 4 is Sonic the Hedgehog 4. That game is always going to keep itself relevant. Hell, that's not even including the fact that the game actually tried to do its own ideas and stand out with its own identity. Sonic Mania, sadly, because of how the game is, because all of the character sprites are just reused sprites, but cleaned up. Sonic's is based off his appearance in Sonic 1 and Sonic CD, Tails based off Sonic 2, Knuckles based on Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Eggman just reuses his classic design, no real differences aside from the animation quality. Essentially, reusing, like, 1/3 of your game being reused from previous games doesn't give you much of an identity. Okay, well, what about Sonic Generations? That game stands out. Yes, because that's Sonic Generations. It has its own idea. It has its own identity. It goes out of its way to give you its own identity, forefront and at the center of the game. It stands out in every single aspect of the game's code, its design, its philosophy. It stands out. It goes out of its way to show you, I am Sonic Generations, this is why I matter. This is why Sonic X Shadow Generations is an important Sonic game. This is why you should care I'm being brought to the PS5. What does Sonic Mania have? What does it have that is its own? That is the reason Sonic Mania is forgotten. That is the reason Sonic Mania will be forgotten in just a few years' time. YouTubers can make Sonic rankings and claim Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game ever. Okay, but why? Sonic Adventure 2 gave us an amazing story with incredible depth. Granted, a lot of that depth comes from stuff outside of the game, but still, a game like Sonic Adventure 2 presents us with a story so good it deserved to be the adaptation and the forefront of the third Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Sonic 1, 2, and 3? Hell, those were pretty much the focus of the first two Sonic movies. Granted, there's not really much that you can take from them story-wise, but still. Sonic 1, 2, and 3 stand out because they are Sonic 1, 2, and 3. And even then, Sonic 1 is the template that the entire franchise is based off of. Sonic 2 is an improved and refined version of the Sonic formula, introducing staples, not only zones, but things like the Death Egg, Eggman's brutal intelligence, and his amazing craft with machinery like the Death Egg robot and the various badniks, and the first robotic Sonic in the series, motherfucking Miles Tails per Hour and Super Sonic, debuted in this game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles not only introduced us to Knuckles, Angel Island, lore for the Chaos Emeralds, the Master Emerald, everything that game is, justifies its own existence. 4 original zones and the hard-boiled heavies, who aside from Heavy King being referenced a couple of times in the IDW comics, means nothing to the franchise at large. Hell, Infinite is more relevant right now. He was such a bad villain in Sonic Forces, he single-handedly revives interest in Sonic Forces purely because he was such a bland villain that now people want to know what his full potential could be. And it saddens me that a game with as much love and passion and desire to make the greatest Sonic game that they could make, to give the Sonic fans the love letter they have so desperately deserved from day fucking one, Mania means nothing. Mania is a disappointment because it does nothing with its concept of being a true love letter to classic Sonic. Sonic Superstars will go down as a more memorable game purely because of how awfully it fucked up the classic Sonic formula. Sonic Mania, in just a few years' time, if that game ever gets pulled off of online storefronts and is erased from history, you'll see a couple video essays like, oh no, we're losing an amazing Sonic game, but that's it. People won't care if this game disappears tomorrow. They'll go, oh, how sad, and then go back to playing Sonic Frontiers, or Sonic 4, or the Advanced Trilogy, or Rivals, or Rush, or the fucking Game Gear games. With all that being said, Sonic Mania is a true masterpiece. It's a true love letter. It is a true expression of self for the development team that worked their asses off to create such an amazing game. But sadly, the development team, headcanon, have pretty much gone under, as far as I'm aware. They've made a couple of games here and there, but they don't really get work with the Sonic series anymore. They came back briefly to remaster Sonic 3 Knuckles for Sonic Origins, but it's Sonic Origins, and they got nothing but hate for their work on Sonic 3, even though it was rushed. So sadly, although I'd say Sonic Mania is a near-perfect game, just falling short at a 9 out of 10, purely due to its lack of originality, outside of 4 zones. in a final boss fight. The game was nothing but fun, but it has no ideas of its own.
Ah, how interesting. Perhaps he may do well. After all, just look at what he said about our predecessors. Adventure 1 and 2. Gentlemen, I believe our time is now.